'twas a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on when those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show, Healing Your Heroes with John and Sam. Having a little technical difficulty on Sam's end, but she's going to be on speaker until she can get that fixed. But we have a great show for you today. We got a lot to bring up, man. We are losing our first responders more and more each day. We had a loss here not too long ago, last week, and we really want to take a deep dive into why are we losing. Hey, welcome back, Sam. So I can hang up this phone. There we go. All right, you're muted.
Wait, don't hang up the phone because I might need to dial back in when I bring everybody on.
But oh man, we lost her again. But these are the little glitches we have with the internet, and that this happens. Hold on one second. Let me just put her back on speaker. Sam, you there?
Yeah. See, everything is. You can hear me, but we've got no feedback. You can see me, but we've got no feedback, correct?
Well, yeah, you're on the phone, but you're muted on the video.
So I'm going to take myself off the video and talk to the phone if everybody can hear me.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, so I'm going to turn on the comment stream. So if you guys can just post a comment of whether or not you can see me. Whether or not you can hear me. We do have an incredibly powerful show tonight, and we're just gonna get through this technical difficulties, be darned, and I'm gonna let John kind of take the lead. But as John said, we had a loss here locally, and it's not getting any easier. And we do this show so that people realize that you're not alone out there.
That's right. Me and Sam, we both discussed this over the last week or so, how we're seeing more and more commanders who are reverting back to old school. The suck it up. It's not going to happen to my department because it's a small department. We don't have those issues here. And I just have to reiterate that it doesn't matter if you are a 6-man department, 6,000, or a 40,000-man department. Fighting crime and the stresses that go within law enforcement are the same in every city, state, and county. There's no difference. Some may be busier than others, but the strain and the stress of putting on that badge every single day doesn't matter if you're a reserve cop, if you're a volunteer cop, it doesn't matter. We all feel those same stresses, and the biggest thing that we feel is the biggest things that we suffer is our coping mechanisms. From day one, when we become hyper vigilant in the academy, when we become that law enforcement, when we put on that badge and we start identifying as a law enforcement officer, our hypervigilance status rises up. So that means we're always aware of our surroundings, and we don't. And then we start getting a little jaded. We get a little cold. We get a little, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? We non-trusting of people. So we fail. So we fail to open up because we think we're going to get hit with that stigma. Where this steamrolls into is our home life, our family life, because the normal pressures throughout the day, financial relationships, your car broke down, the dogs are barking, whatever it is, those normal stresses in life that you would really be able to cope with are now shattered because you're in a hypervigilant state. You don't know how to cope with it. So when people say, well, my department is all good, well, they may be good on the outside. They may be great crime fighters. They may be great investigators. But, you know, those tiny little problems that they may be having at home can be exploded into bigger issues if we do not treat our first responders on a monthly, a quarterly, a bi-yearly basis. Muscle memory on how to cope has got to be employed every single day our officers go out on the street. And I have two wonderful guests today that I'd like to welcome. I forget you're there on the phone. We have two wonderful guests here with us today. We have Chris and Todd from NAMI. You want to bring them on?
Yeah, of course the system just decided to crash again. But the important thing I was going to say that you were leading up to was because we have what's going on at work, the peer support has become critical so that we can turn, because you know that trust factor's down, cynicism is high, we can turn to those that get us.
Right.
That do what we do. And so without further ado, I want to bring on Chris and Todd from Overwatch.
Welcome, guys.
New Overwatch program, peer support program with NAMI right here in North Texas. And take it away, John.
All right. Well, Todd, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. This is such an important issue that not only we feel here in Texas, but it's nationwide and it's almost globally. If we got the statistics from across the pond, I'm sure those mental health rates would be just as high as over here. So the one thing I want, you're both doing the peer support with the Overwatch. Give us a little background on, you know, Todd, you have how many years on the job?
Just a few shy of 20.
Oop, you came in a little broken up. How many years?
Just short of 20.
Just short of 20. So you've seen tremendous changes from day one to here. Now I'm retired, so I don't see the changes as much, but I see the after effects. What do you see as a major step forward, or are we just scratching the surface and we need a lot more work to be done?
Man, it's a good question.
And it's a big question.
It's a huge question. Yeah. So in 20 years, basically in 20 years, it's a huge step forward when you frame it that way. But for what we can be delivering to our members, we might be more just scratching the surface. So it's kind of how you look at it in context. It's definitely a huge step forward compared to what I experienced when I was in a police academy 20 years ago, and there was nothing said about occupational trauma. There was nothing said about the effects that was going to have on me as a human being and actually change how my brain functions at like a, you know, energy molecular level, you know, outside my expertise. But so that aspect is a huge jump forward. Obviously, I want even more and more, and then the best and the best than what we're currently doing. But it's a process. So I'm hopeful in the idea that it's such a big jump where we're at now than we were 20 years ago.
Yeah. Now, and Chris, I want you to chime in on this. You're a veteran. so post-traumatic stress within our veteran and our first responder communities, although they may seem worlds apart, it's the same mental injury to the brain. The brain just sustains it. The brain can't differentiate if it suffered an IED explosion or if it suffered the loss of a child drowning in a pool. All the brain knows is it's an injury, and the resiliency has got to be built back up, right?
Yeah.
So, good. I'm sorry.
I mean, the it's not worlds apart as much as a lot of people think. In fact, you can argue that first responder trauma far exceeds military trauma, right? I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I endured some trauma there. I've been stateside for about 10 years now. I've been out of the military for about 8 years, right? Law enforcement, they have to strap on their vest and their gun every single day, and they don't know what they're going to get, which that uncertainty is going to keep them kind of always on hypervigilant and being alert. So you can make the argument that it's not that far apart. You can also make the argument that it is worlds apart, and that first responder trauma can exceed veteran traumas just because it is still something that is ongoing while you're, serving as a law enforcement officer. Whereas with a veteran, they had a chance to step back and develop these, coping skills and the resiliency. And, it's really hard to be able to develop that when you're still going through the trauma day in and day out.
Right. I agree with that. But the way I look at it is, okay, like Todd and Chris, okay, you both suffered some sort of mental brain injury, be it a TBI from a concussion, and this is where I try to reiterate, because I've seen around the campfires that a lot of officers don't want to open up because they're like, well, that guy was in a triple shooting, so his trauma is worse than mine. And want to try to let everybody know that trauma is trauma. There is no basis of what's worse and what isn't. If I did CPR on a 7-month-old baby, it could have the same effect on me that if I was in, a multiple shooting where multiple deaths happen and I fired my weapon 1,000 times. The trauma to the brain doesn't realize the event. It just realizes it was injured, and we don't know how to cope with it. So, like you said, you came back stateside 8 years ago. All right. So now we have to focus on the healing. This is where we drop the ball, right? We know that most vets are already injured mentally, right? From either being deployed or even going through basic boot camp and changing your whole demeanor in life, right? Academy is the same way. You're changing the person that you are to be another person they want you to become, right? So our whole mental attitude already changes. So we're traumatized right from the very beginning. If we could start the healing process at the very beginning and transition throughout the years of law enforcement, throughout the years in the military, right? And give those men and women the coping skills when you retire, when you finish deployment, and throughout your career, your muscle memory, like just going to the range or being trained on a battlefield, those coping skills will become second nature, right? And you'll be able to handle things a lot better.
Not only nature, but they'll improve to the point to where you're able.
Real quick, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
So I want to just jump in real quick because John, you said an important thing is that it starts right from the beginning. So with not necessarily trauma, but the changes, and it's the awareness piece that I think where the ball is dropped, because all of us have gone through our stuff, and we're all a testament to the fact that, hey, I got a 30-minute block from something called PTSD, and it's something that might happen, but you never think it's going to happen to you, and then 2 towers almost fall on my head on 9/11. Everybody has a point, but if we leave out the educational piece of awareness, you're entering the military. This is what you need to be aware of. This is what's going to happen in boot camp. Of course, they're not going to tell you everything. But, and the same thing with the law enforcement academies. So if we can build and talk about the awareness piece, from a training standpoint, and then arm our soldiers and our law enforcement with the strategies, tactics, and tools once they're aware of, oh yeah, my training officer said that, I could start feeling stress after we've completed, building entries because I had some munitions whizzing by my head, and it might, we train like we play like we train like we play, right? So, yeah, what is going to happen the first time you got a kick in a door? All of those things are going to come back, and it's going to be, you're going to be right there, and, okay, what are the coping mechanisms, John, that's the word you use. What are the strategies that I can use to, I'll say, steady myself or right the ship if I feel like it's going off the rails? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it is, both within the law enforcement and military culture, the default coping mechanism is going and talking to Jim, Jack, and Jose, right?
Mhm.
Jim being Jack Daniels, Jose Cuervo, go and talking
Yep.
to guys. That's the default coping mechanism.
Or Bud.
If we teach, from the very beginning, the more healthier ways of doing it, maybe we wouldn't be talking to Jim, Jack, and Jose, and instead we'd be talking to each other and being able to help each other pull each other out of the mud and continue on in the fight.
So when we look at the root cause, right, and going into a safety aspect, because we always, when an accident happens, we want to make sure we look at the root cause to see if we can eliminate that root cause so it doesn't happen again, right? So you just brought up a great point, Chris, is going to talk to somebody, right? So that's the root cause of everybody's problem. We have no one to talk to, or we don't feel secure enough to talk to somebody because we weren't conditioned. And that's that stigma. That's that stigma that's placed on everybody throughout the nation. They're afraid, right? So we have to, by awareness and by education and by constantly reminding everybody to remove that stigma, to remove that burden of speaking to somebody, because like I know myself, I heal each and every day. I was able to do that. We have to get law enforcement, we have to get veterans to tell their story, even if it's on a one-on-one basis, to open up about it and start healing, start giving their body a chance to process it. Because which is another thing we do not have is process. We do not, airline pilots fly 300 hours, they come taken down, they go back through a training session, they go back through all of this, right? A law enforcement officer is on a constant hamster wheel, right? Oh, you went for a shooting. Oh, you went to a double homicide. Oh, you went to a domestic dispute. Oh, you went to a CPR on a baby. We have no time to process each trauma as it happens. Even if it's 20 minutes or an hour, we're running back to back. And one day it's just going to collapse on everybody. And that's another part of the root cause that we have to eliminate. We have to put processes in place to help our first responders deal with that as it happens, not 20 years later when you retire, because now all the demons start rolling through your head. Todd?
And that's where the peer support comes in. So how did you guys decide to, how did Overwatch come about? Let's just throw out the big question there.
This is a great conversation, and John makes a lot of points. Like one that I think is really, really important is, but before I jump into Overwatch, is trauma is really individual, and you can just look at your police academy. When I'm training recruits or I'm training officers, I talk about that all the time. In your police academy, everyone was subjected to the same obstacle courses, the same boxing, the same fighting the red man. Some people got injured, some people didn't. Like, why was that? Because trauma, it doesn't matter if it's to your brain or your back, your knee, or your elbow. It's real individual. It's really, really individual. But to John's point, I hear first responders all the time rating like, well, I wasn't in the triple shooting, or I wasn't in that burning building. My situation's not really that bad. I shouldn't feel this way. So I just didn't want to let John's point go, because it's really, really super important when we're trying to do human development. We're trying to train with first responders to really make that point that trauma, no matter what part of your body it is, it's real individual.
Right.
But to that point about Overwatch, so I was in patrol 16 and a half years of my 20 years, and I'm at a high call load department. So you are just going to call. Every day you're just hoping you're going to get your break in, your dinner break, your lunch break, whatever
Tea
shift
break.
you're working. Yeah. Literally, you have to ask permission to go to the restroom. You can't just go to the restroom. There has to be enough people, and you're clear, literally clear, to go use the restroom. So I was exposed to a lot of occupational trauma during that 16 and a half years. And for the bulk of that time, until like the last 6 years, there was nothing at the department I was at. There was nothing that I knew about as in any kind of like critical incident stress management or anything. And then when that actually came around, where our current chief, when he was the chief of patrol, Brian, when critical incident stress management was adopted, I was called to many of those as a participant on a call on a really traumatic or really crisis-filled call to come to one of those meetings. And I started for myself thinking, hey, I'm not going to be willing to like really ventilate. I'm not going to really be willing to say like, what's happening. I'm not sleeping very good, or I haven't really slept at all in many nights because of intrusive thoughts or whatever with these people that I work with. And they tell you it's 100% confidential, but man, that's hard to always believe. There's a lot of stuff that seems like it leaks out of way more locked down things. So I started noticing that, and I wasn't the only one. Some of me and my colleagues, we were talking, and we were having the same experiences. Because then at the agency I'm at, you only promote, since it's civil service, you promote by a standardized test. So if I'm at a critical incident meeting and I'm ventilating and I'm talking about, that I'm not sleeping or my alcohol intake is up or whatever's going on, the persons that are in the room hearing it, one of them could be my boss in 6 months. And I'm going to have in the back of my head, like, are they thinking about that? Is that going to be held against me? So it just was going to mute my participation in an in-house peer-to-peer or group setting.
Well, let me ask something, and before I forget it.
Yeah.
When we talk about peer-to-peer and we talk about group settings, right? When we talk about crisis intervention or a CIT team coming in after a traumatic event throughout the department, they call everybody in, right? And they put everybody into the group, right? And they expect everybody to chat. Do you think personally that's really a great setting? Because I'm in 24 hours, 48 hours after an incident, which right now we still haven't even been able to process ourselves.
Yeah, that is probably not my ideal. It's not what I would think was ideal. A lot of times I think it's probably better than nothing. And then that's real individual too, because some of our members have really benefited from that. And especially some people in communications, even some police officers or forensic investigator have benefited from that setting. Other people don't though. So it's definitely not my ideal. But I think it still has some value for some of the members. It won't be an answer for everybody.
No, I agree. It's got tremendous value. But when we have to teach our people how to speak and how to feel comfortable enough to open up, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if we have 3 guys that were attending this crisis intervention that are bottled up, they're afraid of the stigma, they're afraid of this, they're just gonna internalize it and go, this is a waste of my time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So, getting back to where we said it's got to start in the academy and
Yep.
it's got to keep rolling. It's got to be a mental mindset from the very beginning.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just didn't want to
No.
lose my train of thought.
No, I hear that. Yeah. So then getting back to how Overwatch came about. So about 3 years ago, I was appointed the mental health officer at the Garland Police Department. And our chief, Brian, said that I could also look at what we're going to do internally, support our staff internally. So I started working with other departments, Grand Prairie, Plano, Irving, list kind of goes on, Rockwall, seeing what they were doing, seeing what we could do, working together. And I just started pitching out this idea about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was like if there was a regional team that we could tap into, kind of use the idea of a buffet restaurant. We want to have more options for our members so they can select what's best for them, since trauma is real personal. There was nothing like that. It didn't exist. So I knew that it'd be super expensive, a huge undertaking to try and start from zero on something like that. It'd be a really high barrier to success anytime soon. And we would have to be trying to raise all this money and infrastructure and hiring people. So then I started looking around who already does some peer-to-peer and family-to-family, like maybe at a nonprofit. And that's how I just went to NAMI North Texas. NAMI is one of over 260, NAMI North Texas is one of over 260 Model A affiliates in the NAMI national chain. And they already do everything peer-to-peer, family-to-family for just regular people. So I went there about 3 years ago, had a meeting with the executive director, and I just pitched this idea. I didn't have a PowerPoint. I didn't have a slick presentation. I was probably expecting to hear no, our 40-hour queue is full. And I just pitched this idea for a regional peer-to-peer program. And they basically shocked me and said, yeah, let's keep talking about this. So I wasn't really prepared for that response. So then we just started having some more meetings, talking about it, how we like maybe make that work, how it would look, because it's going to be a little bit of a different application than what they normally do for peer-to-peer or family-to-family. And then the executive director changed and another one came in, Dr. Athena Trenton. And then we had COVID happen and a bunch of other stuff happen. And it seemed like this is probably going to be impossible to pull off. But then about, I guess it's been a year ago, last October, NAMI National launched a frontline wellness initiative. And then when a meeting with Dr. Trenton, with Christina Bott on a different subject, and they were having a Zoom meeting, Dr. Trenton mentioned what we're working on here. NAMI National was super interested. They had us do a presentation, and they got behind us 100%, like literally financially 100%. And I guess they say the rest is history. Like I'll let Chris can fill us in on some of it, but I'm really, really, really proud to work with this affiliate, with the staff that's there. It's just a huge, huge score to get a guy like Chris Payne, a licensed clinical social worker, that not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. He brings the passion. You can teach people anything. They can earn a master's and a PhD, but you can't teach them passion. They have to bring that. Right. You can't get a PhD in passion. Like that's not available. That was a long, drawn out thing there, but that's basically how our Overwatch came about.
No, it was perfect. Wasn't long and drawn out at all. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
So Chris, Todd just said you're a licensed clinical social worker.
Yep.
We all met when you were with another organization doing absolutely incredible work. You have been immersed in the mental health and caring for our veterans, our first responders, family members of both. And so for your piece and your expertise, the way you guys team up, can you talk a little bit more how your position as the LCSW, what you guys do in Overwatch, like how you deploy out to assist the first responders?
Sure. So my background is not just with mental health, it's also in peer support. My background with peer support began in 2008 when I enlisted in the Army. I was a combat medic or healthcare specialist, if you want to follow the actual MOS guidelines. But the big thing was that I was not a mandated reporter, but I had security clearance and would have to follow HIPAA guidelines because I was a medic, right? But because I was lower enlisted, I wasn't a mandated reporter. So I was the guy, and a lot of the other medics in my unit were also exposed to this, we were the ones that all the guys would go to when they had issues, right? Hey, my wife's been sleeping around. Hey, my girl left me. Hey, I'm it's a week till payday and I've got 42 cents in the bank account, right? So these were the things. This is how I kind of got started in peer support, and then fast track from there. Multiple deployments to both deserts, Iraq and Afghanistan. A lot of exposure to suicides, which is what kind of drove me into moving beyond peer support and into mental health. Got out, went back to school. Uncle Sam paid for my bachelor's and my master's. Thanks, Dad, or Uncle, and went to work using my license in a direct setting, providing direct mental health services to veterans and first responders. Kind of developed the brain knowledge and the understanding of the clinical side of mental health, and then being able to merge that with peer support. I'm able to put on both hats sometimes at the same time, being able to work with either the peer supporters in our program or working, as a clinical social worker on the side or something like that, and being able to offer both of those and seeing, I can see something from one perspective that's, strictly clinical that maybe someone else in peer support may not be able to see. And on the flip side, I can see something that's peer support related that's someone who's clinical. It's kind of, they're too clinical in their thinking to be able to recognize that, this is just basic peer support and talking to an individual. So I was able to kind of bring both of those to the table when I joined up with NAMI North Texas in October. And, the program was moving along, but it was, there had been some things that happened that, 2021 was known as the Great Exodus, for a lot of organizations and a lot of employees.
Great resignation.
Great. What did I say?
Exodus.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing, right? The Great Resignation. NAMI North Texas went through that too. Kind of left the Overwatch program kind of fluttering, and I came in and got things back rolling. Got a name put on the program. We were able to work with Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute and get the curriculum for the peer supporters finalized. Get everything rolling so that we could actually get this up and running at the beginning of this year.
Let me ask just a quick question, because Todd, you brought up, and this is my I hate this F word. I hate the F word. It's financial aspect.
Right.
As an Italian, there's two F words I really hate. And that's one of them.
Yeah.
But when we look into financials, right? That's always the big thing. It's, we don't have the money. We can't put this program into place. When we look back into 2019, where we had over 200 law enforcement suicides and uncountable medics, 9/11 telecommunication operators and firefighters, because really nobody was keeping track, right? And it's been an upflow. And then we look at the veteran community, where back it started at 22 veterans a day, and now we're looking at almost 6,000 per year, right? And those are reported. Those are the ones that are reported. Those aren't the ones that fell through the cracks. We are seeing such a disconnect in the mental health aid that is coming to our heroes, that is, our first responders, military, and the guys out on the street. Money should be made available for these specific things and should not be an issue. Chris, do you see that the military community lacks more than the first responder community when it comes to financial and mental health?
Well, the veteran community has something at least going for them that first responder community doesn't have, which is the VA, right? But even then, there's funding issues with the VA all the time. So the veterans have at least that to fall back on. And you can have your own opinions about the VA and whatnot. It's at least something that's there. First responders don't have anything.
But let me ask you something. I'm not a veteran. I don't use the VA, and I've heard good things. I've heard bad things, and I guess it's the depends on what state you're in or what city you're in, what VA hospital you go to,
Right.
right?
And what doctor you go to, what the
And
schedule
what doctor
is.
you go to. But when we talk about mental health, I've heard numerous times, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, on certain veterans that will go to the VA that are either in crisis or are about to be in crisis. And they're like, well, come back in 3 months. We'll have an appointment for you.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all. It does come down to finances here because there's only so many chiefs to see so many Indians per day. Like there's only so many doctors that can see so many individuals in a 24-hour period, right? So that's the big issue that the VA runs into is funding and having those resources available, right? So in a lot of ways, the first responders, they don't even have that option. So they've got to figure out a way to do it either out of pocket or working together with others, which is how the whole concept of Overwatch came up was, okay, well, let's figure out a way to do it with each other so that we're not having to, find these finances that we may or may not have.
Now, when you say out of pocket, now mental health can become quite pricey if you go to a private counselor or a physician or whatever.
You're talking $100 an hour. Yeah.
Right. And, our medical insurance when we retire usually is crap and it doesn't take it, and many of them won't. So as a retired first responder and somebody talking to you guys, is there anything in the works that maybe you've heard of that, because transition from being in the military and transition from being a first responder, right? We have our medical insurance, we get our 401ks, we get all that other crap, right? But how about 10 years after retirement, you get free mental health insurance that you can see any provider that you choose of your choosing for 10 years? Because most of the time, our symptoms are going to happen after we sit on and watch Judge Judy and we start losing our identity. So the issues are going to happen within a 10-year span, right? If we're going to have any. So a 10-year after deployment, after retirement, health insurance for mental health, not just because you broke a bone, but maybe. So is anything even being discussed about that?
I haven't heard anything about anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we cover so from both sides. We've got, and we talk about in our workshops, that when the sun sets and you're moving into civilian and you're sitting on your couch or whatever, and that's when you start thinking about it. I think it goes back to what you guys are trying to do. All right, we've got to smash the stigma. We've got to build the awareness piece from the very beginning. And I'll switch to first responders. Let our first responders know that programs like Overwatch are there for them. Like, all you have to do is pick up the phone, reach out. And sometimes that is the hardest part for people to do because, John, like you said in the very beginning of the show, you get into this comparison game. Well, maybe I'll pick up the phone, but me and John were in the same shooting, and John doesn't seem to be having problems. So, maybe I'm making all this up. This is a way. This peer support is a way to, I hate to use the word normalize, but to kind of normalize things in the first responder community to say the time to continue to be blind about what we face every single day on the job, those days are over. And we have got incredible programs where the lieutenant's not involved, the sergeant's not involved. I mean, where literally you are just reaching out. You are picking up the phone. Somebody's answering. Somebody's meeting you. It's confidential. There's no stigma. And that is what we need more of. Because if we can break that confidentiality being key, because John, you and I know, we have seen peer support, quote unquote, peer support that were not peer support. I mean, anybody can say, "Oh yeah, we have a peer peer support program. We sat in a conference room with one of them out your way, John. I don't know if you remember.
Yep.
Okay. And they have an in-house program. Well, how the heck confidential is that? When you've got your own people trying to counsel your own department.
But wait, Sam,
it doesn't work.
wait, no, yes, it does work. It will work. You need buy-in. You need buy-in from your administration. Now, I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna mention where Todd is unless he wants to mention, but you mentioned one of the departments, Grand Prairie, that was doing peer support. And now me and Sam and I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of different departments who has good programs, who has shitty programs, and who has really buy-in programs. We had the pleasure of meeting with some of the people from Grand Prairie, and as we were doing our little workshop, the head chief, and the assistant chief walked in and said how they suffer and how they opened up their hearts, their souls, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it because I thought that chief did an amazing job because it showed every officer that was in there, wow, if he can do it, if my chief can do it, I can do it. Yeah. So it's a buy-in factor. Mm-hmm. You could have a really, really good internal peer support network if it is run correctly and you have the buy-in from the chiefs, not where a peer support officer is talking to somebody and say, Todd, you're talking to somebody, and you go, well, hey, Todd, there's a robbery in progress. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to take the time. You got to give the time, the effort, and the buy-in, and you can really make a peer support in-house network work, and then take it further to to your services with NAMI and Overwatch.
Yeah. So something else to think about when it comes to the stigma and the buy-in. You're talking about the chiefs being able to be vulnerable and say that they've had issues. The key there is that they're vulnerable, right? That is one of those other 4-letter words in the first responder community.
That's the B word.
That is an absolute no-go, being vulnerable, right? Because first responders, veterans, whichever branch of the thin line tree you're on, the common thread is that you're Superman, you're indestructible, you're the superhero who goes in and saves the day, right? Well, Todd is going to chuckle because he's heard me talk about how much I hate Superman all the time, right? Superman is not the superhero you want to be emulating, right? Because Superman is supposed to be all powerful, the man that everyone wants to be, the man that every woman wants to be with. Superman's not even human.
Yeah.
He's an alien. Yes, he's fictitious. I get that, but he's an alien. He's not even a human being.
Any children that are watching, you're crushing all their dreams.
It's okay. Santa Claus isn't real either. But that's the idea, is that we have that Superman mentality. So when we think about mental health, what's our response? Well, I don't need mental health. I'm fine. Right? I'm Superman. Nothing phases me. It just bounces, ricochets off my armor. I'm good to go. Right? So we don't open ourselves up to being vulnerable and getting that help because we feel like if we do, that makes us weak. Mm-hmm. So seeing a captain, seeing a chief, seeing an assistant chief, seeing some of those that a lot of us maybe look up to as leaders in the department, leaders in the industry, and them taking off their armor and being vulnerable, saying, "Hey, I've got chinks in my armor. I've got demons in my closet. I need to take care of them." That is what brings in that buy-in. That is what helps smash that stigma, because now you see, okay, it's okay to take that armor off. It's okay to actually open up and talk about this instead of the whole mentality of, rub dirt on it and drive on.
Right. And like what you said, Todd, those same people, if they become your boss, them going, well, that's a man I could talk to or a woman I could talk to. I could show my emotions. I could show my inner self to them, and I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be demoted. I'm not going to be alienated, and I'm not going to be overlooked for assignments because I'm human.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely. That's what we're we're aspiring to get to that point and have leaders like that in place. And then in the meantime, to your and Sam's point, we want to have agencies have a really solid, well-researched and robust internal program. And then we want them to know about the ops program, and we want them to know that we're not trying to replace what they have. We're not trying to say we're better. It goes back to my buffet theme. We want to have options for our members so they pick what's best for them. So if the in-house program is what works for them, because it's really rock solid, they'll go with that. If they think they would like to try something a little more anonymous, maybe a little more lockdown confidential, they can go online, click on a button, schedule an appointment on ops, real simple like that. Don't have to even call or email anyone. And then they'll utilize that for their wellness. We want to try and literally, I keep saying buffet. It makes me hungry. But we just want to have really good, high quality options. And that's what NAMI North Texas and now NAMI National, is really gunning to have this as a signature program at all those affiliates nationwide. And we're doing the pilot program. And that's what they want too, is to have this available. We're really excited, me and Chris are. I know we only have an hour here, but we've already got agencies that are right outside San Antonio, and they're looking for really high quality peer-to-peer training, and they don't have a big budget right now. And they are going to come up here in June to Garland PD and get in on the 2-day ops program. And we're just like, man, we couldn't be happier. We are so happy to have them expand the ops network down there. It's really, really exciting.
Yeah, and I've gotten inquiries from people in the Houston area. I've gotten inquiries from people in the El Paso area. I had one inquiry from Arkansas. Like, it's not just going across the state. We're getting inquiries from people in different parts of the country wanting to know, when is this going to be, brought into our area of the woods?
Yeah.
Well, with Badge of Honor, with me and Sam's Badge of Honor, we're excited for you because we know that we're a part of that buffet tray. It really is. We may be just a macaroni and cheese tray, but we're not the crab legs. We're not the crab legs, but every organization that's out there, every nonprofit organization that's out there, be it Our Watch dealing with equine or Heroes on the Water dealing with, or any type of organization out there that is in a healing process, should be so excited on the foothold that you guys are doing, because this is going to help everybody. And when we talk about a buffet, me and Sam, I'm from New York, man. I went to Our Watch and I did equine therapy, and who the hell thought that would ever release some of my hypervigilance, and it did. And I'm thinking, I got to sit on a couch. Not everybody's for a couch. Not everybody's for that. Not everybody's for the water. So, like you said, it's individualized. So each trauma's got to be healed a different way. And I'm glad you guys are bringing all of this in one, like you said, Todd, one buffet style serving, because it gives options. It puts more tools in a toolbox, and it allows officers to say, hey, this is something I may want to be a part of.
Boy, what's so exciting to me, and I know other areas in the country want to learn from us and are contacting us and wanting to check it out, is the network we've built here in North Texas. Because one of the Badge of Honor members, Jeff, he is on our ops team. He's been to the school. He's trained. We come to your Badge of Honor events. We promote them. I've spoke at some of yours. Yep. I mean, we literally network and work together because our goal, our focus is on the wellness of first responders and their family. We're all in this together. Rather than like competing and staying in our own lane, we network, we work together, we do all this stuff together with our eye on the main thing, and that's the wellness of these first responders and their families. So that's really, really exciting to me, and it's gotten a lot of attention. I just got really beyond humbled and basically shocked when Axon contacted me and asked me to go to their huge, basically international conference in Phoenix coming up in May and be one of the presenters in a breakout session on Axon's family wellness initiative that Sam's been part of. I mean, I'm just was blown away, huge honor, but it's getting the attention of a global company like Axon about what's going on here in North Texas for first responder resiliency and wellness for them and their families.
You said another F word that I want to get on because it's the lost F word, and it's families.
Yeah.
Right. Be it through vicarious trauma, being it from seeing stuff on the news and knowing what their loved ones go through. We have military personnel now being deployed with all the stuff that's going on in Ukraine. So it brings up the anxiety levels. It brings up all of this stuff. Now, with Overwatch, you said you can click on a button if you're a first responder or a veteran, right, for peer-to-peer support. Do we have anything in place, or maybe you guys, I know you guys are just getting this ball rolling, but will there be a place for a family member to say, hey, my husband, my wife has a drinking problem, a drug problem, whatever?
So one of the things that we're wanting to have with Overwatch and with NAMI North Texas is develop a peer support group for Blue Line families. So NAMI is very popular and very skilled when it comes to family support groups. So we're going to develop a Blue Line family support group. We're going to have a Red Line family support group.
Nice.
We're going to have a Yellow Line, a White Line for all of the branches of the first responder tree, so to speak. That's something that it'll be a little different than the one-to-one peer support that Overwatch will have, because you can't have good peer support for first responders in a group setting, right? That's too many ears means too many lips,
right?
But families love group support, right? That's where they can connect, where they can network, where they can work with other families and find that support with each other is in those group networks. So we'll have the group peer support for the families, and they'll have the individual one-on-one peer support for the actual officers and other first responders.
We found that out, and you bring a 100% solid point. We did our first family workshop over at the V-Rock, and in the group setting, I mean, Sam, you can back me up on this. I saw guys with 26 years on and wives look at their husbands, and they had this stone cold face in the very beginning, but at the end of it, had their head on his shoulders. One officer, 26 years, was able to open up, and it really brought You're Not Alone to such a different level, because all these families that were there were thinking the same thing. This is my issue. This is a family. No, this is an issue, a first responder issue that every family is really feeling in some way, shape, or form.
We like to say that it's your chance to come find out why your first responder is the way that they are, because we talk about how we're cut from different cloths. Because if this job was easy, everybody could do it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with our military. The line would be out the door. And it takes learning about resiliency, taking care of yourself, paying attention to your wellness. And sometimes in that, we forget and we have our families kind of pushed off to the side. And we have to remember that we need to include them, and our families need to understand that, hey, I might need 10 minutes when I come home every night. So it's that communication piece. So what I want to jump over to really quick is, because you guys don't do this alone, you're bringing Overwatch to a lot of different departments, to a lot of officers. How exactly does the program work? Officers can reach out to you directly and you conduct a class. What does it look like?
So if a officer is wanting to become a peer supporter and go through our 16-hour course, which is covered TCOL 3844 for peer support, so you can get TCOL credits for it. They can go online to NamiNorthTexas.org, click on the Frontline Wellness banner, and scroll down to the registration for getting peer support training. If you're wanting to receive peer support, You can go to that same place and click the button that says to receive peer support. You can give us a phone call. You can send us an email. You can walk into the office. You can send me a carrier pigeon. You can do Tony Express and smoke signals. You can just get the information to us. And then once I have that information, I will contact you. We'll sit down and have a talk about, what are the things that you're wanting to get out of peer support? What are your issues? What are your goals? And kind of get a little bit of background information from you. And then I will match you with one of our peers that we have in the program. Right now, we've got just under 30. We're looking at getting probably about 50 peer supporters trained and ready to go by the end of this year. I'll match you with one of our peer supporters that I think is going to be a good fit. We can get y'all, meeting at a neutral location, plain clothes, as anonymous and kind of, blending into the crowd as much as possible. Let y'all talk and do the peer support process. I'll be available on standby as the licensed clinician to, provide professional support if it's needed. And you can go from there. You can meet with your peer supporter once and get what you need and move on. You can continue to see them however often you want.
Is this a 24-hour service?
So we won't respond. I'm not going to, if you send me an email at 3:00 in the morning, I'll get back to you. Right. But you can, meet with your peer supporter. If both of you are night shift, you can both go to, the park at 2 a.m. and talk with each other or something like that. Right. So there's you the peer and the peer supporter can come up with the schedule that best works for them.
But right. But what I'm asking is, like, if I'm in crisis at 3:00 in the morning.
So we don't do crisis intervention.
Okay.
So if you are in crisis, you need the contacts, the crisis intervention experts that are there. If one of our peers is working with a peer supporter and they are in crisis, then yes, I am a phone call away. I can get there and talk with the peer supporter, talk with the peer, assess the situation. I'm trained in CISM and a couple of other critical incident debriefs, and I can, help with that situation. And then we can get them connected to those crisis intervention resources that are also there.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to bring out. I want to make sure that
this is peer support and not crisis intervention. We can get you to those crisis intervention places if we need to, and that is 24/7.
that's what I wanted to make. I wanted to make clear to everybody that, I'm in crisis, I'm going to go here. No, this is after the crisis. This is the healing process and the continuing healing process thereafter. Todd, let me ask you a question. Me and Sam brought this up the other day before we run out of time. In New York, we stood roll call, right? The NYPD stands roll call. You come in for your shift, you get dressed, you go upstairs, you stand in front of the desk. The sergeant, lieutenant, or captain addresses the troops before he turns out the group, and it's usually about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, depending on what's going on. What a great place to start addressing mental health and keeping that muscle memory. But looking at some of these small departments, some of these smaller city departments, you guys turn out by car or you take the car home, right? There's really no interaction with the higher ups unless you have an arrest or something happens, right? Is that how a lot of departments work now? Todd?
I haven't heard that. A lot of North Texas ones, even some smaller ones like Rockwall or something, they still have what's called a lineup, but we actually sit. We sit lineup.
Okay.
We don't stand. We sit. Right. Yeah. So there's some communication there. Really, when it comes when you're more on your own, to be like a specialized unit. So if you're in our neighborhood police officer unit, you don't have a lineup. You don't have any interaction with a supervisor. You just get to work every day and go to work. Kind of like the detectives do too. So there's a big chunk of the department staff. They just go to work. They don't have any interaction with a supervisor or something like that, or in a lineup setting. No.
Oh, so who gets to sit down, like that sit down thing? The sit down.
So that's when 16 and a half years I was in patrol at Garland. That was what I had to do. I changed clothes at work, so I went to locker room, change clothes, and then I had to be in lineup at 2 p.m. because I worked 2 to 10 or 2 to midnight. You
Right.
sit down and line up, and the lieutenant reads off what's happened on the 2 previous shifts, any other important stuff. Sometimes there's some lineup training. So like we've done resiliency training in lineup. Where we'll have like 10, 15 minutes, it has to be pretty quick. But that's basically how the sit down lineup works.
So, okay, I just want to know if that was, I didn't know if it was still in effect. I didn't know if it was something
Yeah.
that went by the
Yeah.
wayside.
Still in effect.
So it
Okay.
sounds like a special unit. So it sounds like special units don't have that,
Right.
but the majority of the
Correct.
departments still have something.
Yeah, the patrol units do. Yeah.
Now, also, I haven't been in a precinct in a while or a command in a while. And another thing, me and Sam, with another guest that we had on a month ago, talked about is the flyers that are up on the walls in the precinct, right? I know you have your basic EAP flyers, right? But are there flyers for non-traditional organizations like Copline?
Yeah,
1-800 Copline up on the wall that if you're having an issue, you can call one
or
or
what?
or our watch or any of these,
Your program.
yeah, or NAMI or any or when you, because you're visual, we're all visual people, right? So if we pass a flyer every day, we're gonna wonder what the hell that is, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a billboard going down the road, Hey, Toby Keith is playing at Jexa. Oh wow, let's check it out, right? If we pass that flyer every day, it becomes muscle memory. Hey, what's NAMI? What's NAMI? What's Overwatch? What's Overwatch? Hey, maybe I should read into that. Are we putting these flyers in front of our officers yet?
Yeah, I think that is definitely going on. It's something that we're real motivated at Garland PD. I've actually got stations set up that have 5 flyers that go behind those plastic holders. Can change them out about every 30, 60 days. The badge honor is up right now in all the stations like that are around the PD. And I just put it in high traffic areas. So where all the body cameras get docked for patrol, there's a station there. The stairwell that most of CID uses, there's a station there. Over by the academies, men's and women's locker rooms, there's a station there. And then I
Bathrooms,
just,
the
yeah,
bathroom
same.
stalls,
Yeah,
bathroom stalls.
yeah, and those spots in the gym, I'll just put them out in line up and roll call. I'll just put them out on the tables in there. I put them in the report writing room. And like to your point, I don't really expect someone to stand there and look at every one of them, but officers have taken pictures of them and then utilize that information later and signed up for a training or called that therapist's office or whatever.
Excellent.
That's like the whole idea of those. Yeah, that's a good
That's
question.
But usually, like you travel, and same with you, Chris, you travel to precincts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Do you see those in other commands?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
They
That-
may not be as extensive as Garland, but they're still there.
okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that they were doing that.
Yep.
I think that the whole crisis issue, whether it's come like in Texas to the forefront, whether NAMI's led the way, or like you said, Todd, it's been a buffet. We definitely, as members of the buffet, the buffet keeps getting bigger and it can't be ignored, right? It doesn't matter what department you're in, the trickle down effect is there. Sure, you might have what I call the crusty old salty still in play, but when you can pick up the phone and nobody has to know, it's between you and the person who answers the phone on the other end, and whomever that person, whatever organization that they're with, they get the help they need, they get the stress down, they get whatever it is handled. They've had, it could just be a tough day, and then they go on and they realize, hey, I can do this whenever we want, right? So I always talk about, courage is not running into a burning building. We're trained for that, right? We're trained to run towards the gunfire. That's the easy part. It takes more courage to pick up that phone or ask somebody for help.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
And the more we normalize capitalize it by bringing these programs forward and showing that these first responders and the veterans have a safety net outside what their, traditional sit on the couch persons or people. Outside of that, we create a comfort zone, and we just need to keep doing it. And we need to keep putting it out there. And thank you, Todd, and thank you, Chris, so
Yes.
much for what you do, for being out there, for Todd creating the stations, Chris going to the departments, not letting the mission go, because there are too many lives that we have to save, and we're going to do it together.
Yep.
We're not going to do it by competing with each other.
Right. That's
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. So I want to give Todd and Chris, John and I want to give you guys the last word tonight. Chris, the mic is yours. If you could send any message to veterans and first responders out there, what would it be?
So I have two things to say. And when it comes to research and clinical research into substance use and addiction and things of this area, the number one, the leading theory as to what causes a lot of these addictions and issues is a lack of connection. So we need to be connecting with each other in order to give ourselves those healthy coping outlets to use instead of the unhealthy ones. Right. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is, we're working on breaking and addressing the stigma when it comes to mental health. A lot of people, still have the hard-nosed line of drink water, drive on, don't be a wuss, things of that nature. I want to ask this question to those individuals. If you are on call, or if you're on patrol and you get a call over the radio, shots fired, officer down, how is everybody responding? Well, everybody is hitting lights and sirens, and they're going code 3 all the way until the scene, and everybody is responding, right?
Yeah.
But when an officer asks for help with their own mental health, who responds? Why does it matter who's holding the gun? Why does it matter if it's a bad guy holding a gun? We're going to come running. But if it's the good guy holding his own gun, we're not going to do anything.
Or
why does it
or
matter?
we're going to respond to it wrong.
What's that?
Or we're going to respond to it wrong.
Or we're going to respond to it wrong, right? We need to change that mindset of, if it's a line of duty death, great. Let's give them honors. Let's hail them as a hero. If it's a self-inflicted suicide, well, they should have reached out and called for help. Well, did you respond when they did? Because over 9% of people who are suicidal reach out and ask for help. Why does it matter who's holding the gun?
Can I just add on to that real quick? Because I think that was powerful.
Wow.
Very powerful.
But when you say, people didn't respond, right? Because they said, well, why did they ask for help? Well, maybe he did, but not verbally.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't know how, so he left clues behind, hoping that someone would pick up on it.
Right. Why is an active officer who is very gung ho and very active all of a sudden not showing up for work? He's late. He's disheveled. His uniform is out of whack.
Yeah.
There's those key signs. There's those things that commanders and others should be aware of.
And this is where that connection with others comes into play, because if you're connected with others, you can pick up on that, and then you can start asking questions.
Right.
Ask questions. If you go through any one of the suicide intervention protocols, whether it's ASH or just fucking ASH, I'm not trusting on the radio,
No.
the name of the program, just fucking ASH. Whether it's QPR, whether it's any of those, the very first one is asking the question.
Yeah.
Right? You need to actually be involved with your brothers and sisters and be willing to ask that question.
We're going to run it a little over because I got to ask you a question.
Okay.
All right? And because you hit such an amazing, this is just really good stuff. All right. I'm asking you the question. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing okay.
I'm fine. All right. Listen, if you need anything, let me know. That's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes. Hey, Chris, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Not, are you sure? Hey, let's sit and talk. We never dig deeper. We never we never take that to the next
You
level.
respond with what you think they want to hear, and then you move on. But if you're connected to each other, you're going to be asking. You're also going to be observing. Hey, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but this is what I see you doing. Talk to me, brother. Tell me what's actually going on. Let me help you.
But how many officers know those next few words? It's like the ending of a prayer nobody knows. We all know the beginning of the prayer, but we always mumble the last part, blah 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 blah, or the last part of the song, right? We gotta teach officers exactly what you just said, the follow up and those words. I hear you, but what I'm seeing is something a little different. Let's sit and chat.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, that I think will get people a little bit more motivated. So thank you, Chris. That was powerful. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Man, note to self: don't follow Chris Payne on closing comments. Sam set me up for this. She was like, "Chris, go first." What? But like real quick, like if something I'd want to leave people with is, I mean, this is just good officer safety. This is just good first responder safety training. Like this isn't some strange thing. We train to mitigate risks all the time. We train to mitigate threats, and first responders always do. So this is just good training for officer safety, for first responder safety. That's all it is. It's not some strange voodoo pixie dust thing. And then the other thing I want to leave people with is one of the things I've really learned, especially over the last 20 years, like you don't have to have a title chief. You don't have to have assistant chief. You don't have to have captain in front of your name. You don't have to have president. You don't have to have CEO to really care about something and be passionate and just be relentless. You're coming with the ideas. You may not be the decision maker. If you don't get to yes right away, it's important. Keep pushing, keep working, keep looking to see who you can partner with. Look for people like a badge of honor. Look for ops. Look for first. Look for heroes on the water. Look for whoever's in your area that's got a shared passion. But don't be limited. That's what a message I like to leave is if you don't have chief before your name, you don't have president, don't let that limit you. You've got an idea, you've got a passion. I mean, keep pushing. It's worth it.
Eat from different parts of the buffet.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Really? Hey, if you don't like this part of the buffet, you can always go to the other end and eat the Chinese food.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing more than an hour, and we could keep going and talking. We want to definitely have you guys back, especially when you celebrate your year into doing this, and so we can celebrate you guys all together and the amazing work that you do. I put up in the comment stream the NAMINorthTexas.org and just some extra stuff of what to look for, how to sign up to become a peer supporter, or if you're somebody that is in need of support, how to find that as well. You guys, I mean, we're going to see you in 2 days.
Yep.
Again, part of the buffet. We so appreciate you. And we're actually having a buffet. Thank you, Garland.
That's funny.
Right now, thank you, Dickies Garland. Jeff over there.
Jeff Bass.
And thank you to Chick-fil-A for providing breakfast right off the bat. So we look forward to seeing you guys. Hey, at least when we do these things, the biggest thing is, well, what are we going to eat? Are we going to be fed? Or are we going to be fucking training for 8 hours eating, granola bars? No.
Yeah.
It's the South. We can't get together and not eat.
That's right.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Again, we look forward to hearing more about it. You guys will be talking about it on Friday to the first responders in attendance, so they can find out more about it and how to go ahead and sign up. It's amazing work that you guys do. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for never quitting.
Yeah.
never quitting on this mission because it is huge, and you guys are going to touch so many lives, and you're going to save a whole bunch of people in the process.
Yes.
So with that, thanks, and we'll see you on Friday.
See you guys.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
having us.
All right,
Bye.
man. Chris and Todd, man, are just amazing people. Sam, you know, his buffet style, I think that really resonates with a lot of first responders because it deals with mental health and it deals with eating. So it all comes full circle.
And Dale will be there as well. So
Dale will be
was on-
there. Dale will be there.
Dale will be there with Chris. Dale is Chris's service dog. That when he brings Dale to every event, I would say Dale ends up healing so many people, bringing their stress levels down, and the two of them are just amazing. And I call them people because Dale's like a person.
Yeah, he is. He's a great little.
And tonight, folks, we appreciate you hanging in with all of the tech stuff that's going on. Obviously, you can hear me. You can't see me. It went off as soon as I took my camera down. Everything seemed to level out, so we can still do the show. It's all good.
We make it work. We make it work.
Absolutely. So if you are a first responder listening to this, you like what you've heard, go ahead and click on abadgeofhonor.com. Again, we will be out on Friday at Garland TV with Chris from the Overwatch Peer Support and Todd. They're going to address everybody in attendance, talk about what Overwatch Peer Support and our ops is. I love the name. And you're also going to get that big awareness piece when it comes to post-traumatic stress, and whether or not you're seeing some of the signs and symptoms. But trauma is trauma. It's not a comparison game. This is all about healing.
Right.
And so you can check out and get yourself registered for this Friday, as well as we have our calendar out to June on there as well. So check it out there. Guys, there's so many ways to support. If you haven't heard of Carry the Load, go to carrytheload.org and you can find out what it's about. Even better, you can support them directly, which means you're supporting us. Go to carrytheload.org/a badge of honor, or look for our team in the search engine, and say every penny counts when it comes to what Carry the Load as a national organization does for first responders. And we are so blessed to be national nonprofit partners with them this year. If you're on Amazon, go ahead, add us a badge of honor. So, a portion of what you purchase comes back so we can continue to do what we do. And every penny that we receive in donations goes to putting on the workshops that we do for first responders and now first responder family members. So they've got their own separate workshop that we do for them as well. So there, again, or you could go right to the Badge of Honor and donate directly. Lots of ways to support, but the biggest thing is we want to say thank you to all the first responders out there who are protecting us here at home, and for all of our military that have been deployed and are protecting our shores from the horrors and the dangers. Thank you so much for what you do. To all the veterans out there, we enjoy the freedoms that we have because of your fight and what you put on the line, and you suffer as well. And I hope Chris's message, I hope you heard Chris's message tonight. So if you're in need and you can't get what you require to get well from the VA, please go to NAMINorthTexas.org. Check out the Overwatch program. You deserve the help. You fought for this country. We are not going to forget you, and we're not going to let you slip through the cracks. So let us be your safety net there. John, take us home.
All right. Well, Sam, once again, an amazing show. We hit some good topics, a very important topic. But just to resonate, to reinforce what Chris said, man, we are our superheroes when it comes to strangers. We got to be superheroes for ourselves. Let's take that question a little further when we ask how somebody is. Let's continue the conversation. Let's not just take "I'm fine" and walk away. And to reiterate what Todd says, man, we are all eaters. Cops love food. Man, there's so much at this buffet. All you have to do is step up and find what you like. Be it Badge of Honor, be it Our Watch, be it Heroes on the Water, be it NAMI, be it peer support, be it whatever it is. The buffet section goes on. And I think these two, Chris and Todd, both with NAMI and Overwatch, are going to really make great strides in our mental health fight throughout our veteran and our law enforcement community. So God bless those guys. Sam, I think you did a great job tonight working through the technical difficulties we had. I think you did a great job. I want to thank you as always. And until next week, man, if you can be anything in this world, just please be kind. And until next week, next Mad, we'll see you soon.
The very first Wednesday of the month.
The very first Wednesday of the month. Right.
All right.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Take care,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.